Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka, Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Gaura Sundar, Nitai Gaura Sundar Gaura Hari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Devam, Jaya Guru Devam, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Jai Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bo. Let's start our chapter 2. This is Canto 7, chapter 7. Text 55 is our last text in this chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let's read Sanskrit. Etavaneva lokismin pumsasvartha parasmrita ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tadikshanam. Etavaneva lokismin pumsasvartha param smrita ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tadikshanam. Etavaneva lokismin pumsasar svartha parasmrita ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tatikshanam. Would anybody like to read the verse as well?
Etavan eva lokesmin humsa varta parasmritaha ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tad ikshanam.
Yeah.
Etavan eva lokesmin pumsa svarta parasmritah ekanta bhaktir govinde yat sarvatra tad ikshanam.
Anybody else would like to read? Thank you very much. Let's read translation. Etavan, this much. Eva, certainly. Loke asmin, in this material world. Pumsa, all of the living entity. Sva-artha, the real self-interest. Para, transcendental. Smrita, regarded. Ekanta bhakti, unalloyed devotional service. Govinde, to Govinda. Yat, which. Sarvatra, everywhere. Tatikshanam, seeing the relationship with Govinda, Krishna. Translation. In this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes, and to see him everywhere is the only goal of life. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all the revealed scriptures. Purport by His Divine Grace, D.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this verse, the word Sarvatra Tadikshanam describe the highest perfection of devotional service, in which one sees everything with reference to Govinda's activities. The highly elevated devotee never sees anything unrelated to Govinda. Stavara jangama dekhe na dekhe taramurti sarvatrahaya nijaishta devas bhuti. The Mahabhagavata, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest with the form of Supreme Lord. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. Sorry, it was Chaitanya Charitamrita rhythm, but I read it as Bhagavatam. Even in this material world, a devotee does not see materially manifested things. Instead, he sees Govinda in everything. When he sees a tree or a human being, a devotee sees them in relation to Govinda. Govinda Adipurusham. Govinda is the original source of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller, has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita. The test of a perfect devotee is that he sees Govinda everywhere in this universe, even in every atomic particle. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. This is the perfect vision of a devotee. It is therefore said, Narayana mayam dhira pashanti paramarthinam jagadhana mayam lodha kamuka kamini mayam. A devotee sees everyone and everything in relationship with Narayana, Narayana mayam. Everything is an expansion of Narayana's energy. Just as those who are greedy see everything as a source of money-making, and those who are lusty see everything as being conducive to sex. The most perfect devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, saw Narayana even within a stone column. This does not mean, however, that we must accept the words Daridra Narayana, which have been manufactured by some unscrupulous person. One who actually envisions Narayana everywhere makes no distinction between the poor and the rich. To single out the Daridra Narayana or poor Narayana and reject the Dhani Narayana or rich Narayana is not the vision of a devotee. Rather, that is the imperfect vision of materialistic persons. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled, What Prahlada Learned in the Womb. Etavaneva lokismin pumsasvartha parasmrita ekanta bhaktir govindeya sarvatra tadikshanam. Translation again, in this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes, and to see him everywhere is the only goal of life. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all the revealed scriptures. Om Gyana Tirminandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshamanmiltam Ginas Masmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutare Shrimati Chaitanya Chandra Charam Prabhu Iti Namine Namashtanya Mutranam Karuna Chandra Dayane Gaura Charana Seva Prabhu Namartane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, let's discuss this verse. It is essential both in this chapter as a conclusion of it and also essential to this world right now with general inflammation of collective consciousness and anxiety and mass delusion, for us to be reminded what is the goal of life and what is the solution to all of our suffering is pivotal to help others and to stay pure ourselves, because not only just the age of Kali perpetuates mass illusion and in general dissatisfaction in consciousness and the mind, deep dissatisfaction, but also particularly this time where Rahu rules right now the processes. You can see it very clearly as it has entered into its ruling at the end of the year and will be there for another 18 years, you will clearly see more and more illusion, more despair, and therefore more need for being reminded what's actually is a path of liberation for us. Krishna spends a lot of time talking about it to Arjuna. Of course, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam and the conclusion of Vedanta, right, spends time talking about it. Of course, every single one of our acharyas in all the bona fide sampradayas spend their time bringing the reader, sadhaka, to this conclusion that ultimately the only way to get yourself free, to set yourself free from materialistic consciousness, from illusion, from loss of intelligence, which is the result, like Krishna says in the second chapter, of contemplating the object of the senses and therefore developing attachment to them and therefore experiencing lust. And when it's not obtained or possessed, or even when it is possessed, the objects of your senses, you still feel frustration and anger because it's not what you expected, or maybe you didn't get it. You feel very angry. And therefore, we spiral down to the loss of consciousness, which is very convenient to materialistic civilization leaders who, like Srila Prabhupada says here, just see everything as a source of money making and as being conducive to sex, and therefore the economy and everything that's produced in this regard. It's very convenient that we lose our intelligence, because then it's very easy to manipulate people. It's very easy to put them in a state of control and fear and desperation, and therefore obedience, and therefore consumption, and therefore perpetuating this machine, right, that benefits a couple of people up there. So this is crucial that we remind ourselves daily, and there is a way to remind ourselves daily. There is a way to really stay on top of it. That's the only way, really, and remind others, especially if we, as devotees, always cultivate compassion to this world, to the suffering living entities. We should make it a must to daily, somehow or other, remind the world, to check in with our community, families, those who we try to take care of, and remind them that there is way to stay Krishna conscious, to stay transcendental. And I have to remind myself too, because it's just so easy to just start feeling sad and worried and think that we just losing this battle, Maybe we are, but on individual level, we still have to win, because it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to stay Krishna conscious, to remember the Lord and to see everything in connection with him, even when it's an exercise of our faith, even when it seems sometimes that maybe the Lord is not so involved here, because look at this, after all, what's happening here. I think many people are challenged right now with their faith, and seeing so many atrocities and wars and just rapidly worsening situation politically and economically, and just in general, how power acts in this world. Yeah, some people might feel really challenged. If the Lord is involved, if he is the protector, and if he is the ultimate controller of everything, and if everything is, in under his jurisdiction in this world. So, but again, it really depends on whether or not we're in yoga. So I'm going to come back to Bhagavad Gita again, and think of the last few verses where Krishna really starts with explaining what happens to those who don't follow this path of Krishna consciousness, what happens to those who don't really see everything in connection with Krishna, who do not do their duty for the sake of the Lord and pleasing the Lord. They burn out. Not only he says that they experience depression, anger, frustration, because their material aspirations will never be satisfied, because it's developed like this here. It's the default nature that if we misuse the material nature and energy in the world, if we try to stay here for the wrong reason, and the wrong reason is everything but remembering Krishna, everything but developing our longing in separation to the Lord and wanting to reunite with him and serve him. Everything else is the wrong reason, really. Broadly speaking, yes, you can have some levels there of bhakti and mishra bhakti, but mostly, yes. People's going to misuse their life. And therefore, Krishna kind of like really takes a lot of time to speak to Arjuna and give him all the options, lay it all out, so that people in the future who read this and they will be very convinced. Why? Because everything's written in Bhagavad Gita can be tested, and it has been tested. And not just by some great yogis and sages, by us every day. And then if you're not convinced yet, then go and try to, I don't know, go to some shopping mall or a website, or I don't know, whatever you like, whatever your desires, whatever you're meditating on that you think you really want, and try to meditate on it for a long time. Immediately your mind will become attached to it so much, trying it on yourself. If you want some pretty, I don't know, dress, or if you want some fancy car, if you want a house, try it on in your mind. I mean, don't try really. I'm sure you have tried, but you will see that, oh, it immediately feels like it's already mine. But then you can open your eyes from dreaming. All of us, we like to dream here in this material world. All the jivas, they like sleeping, they like dreaming because, oof, this is all the senses going wild, trying things out, absorbing all these feelings. Yes, it's already mine. I'm already wearing it, and I'm already driving it, and I'm already using this and this, and I'm already, I don't know, with this person, in this relationship, right? Sometimes people treat other people in their relationship like possession too. I want to just possess that person, their will, their love, their time, their energy. I want it. And if not, then to hell everything. Let me shoot them. That's all the romantic stories, right? From the Shakespeare and stuff. It's not mine, then kill it. That's the mentality. So you will see that we've already tested this hypothesis many, many times. If you start contemplating and trying it on yourself, when you open your eyes and you say, oh, actually, I don't have it. Or actually, I have it, but it's not what I expected. It comes with a price of, some karma that I've acquired on the way of getting those things. Or it's not as great, actually, because it's just a thing. You will feel anger. And then well, first last you already felt that, like trying it on, and then you looked and it's not there and it has to be mine and I'm going to do everything to get it. Then boom, upset. Then boom, from that frustration and rage, we just go down very quickly because our senses can't perceive the reality anymore. Our mind is illusioned, and eventually we really lose the intelligence. It's such a well-tested statement by Krishna. In fact, don't have to go anywhere. Look around, look around in this world. Everybody's doing it. So the Lord has explained things in details, and therefore you don't have to be a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, Hare Krishna to benefit from reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It's so universal because those are just principles of our consciousness and the creation, and like simple psychology, really. And so anybody who reads it with open mind will immediately see, oh, it's true. This is the feeling I had when I read Bhagavad Gita first. Every verse was like, I always knew that. Nobody told me about it. Why did nobody tell me about it until I was fortunate? I read Bhagavad Gita pretty early when I was 14 or something like that. And I was still upset. Why did I not know that, when I was a kid, when I had so many questions and already frustrations on contemplating all the objects of my senses or something else, when I couldn't cope with my emotions or anger or couldn't explain things that hurt or was painful. But yeah, that was the feeling. And so everybody who can read Bhagavad Gita will understand. Let's go back to our point. So Krishna has described extensively what is the alternative to thinking of Govinda only and connecting everything to the Lord and making it ultimate goal of life, right? The alternative is depression, and therefore inauspicious existence, and therefore inauspicious contribution to this world, and therefore a waste of human life, and therefore a spiritual suicide, and therefore actually defeat in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end of life. That's pretty sad alternative. It's not really an alternative, it's just a defeat. But he says other things too. He says something later in Bhagavad Gita. He says, one who senses a restraint from the object is certainly of steady intelligence. So Krishna says that alternative to the lost intelligence is to train your intelligence to be steady. And there is one, again, very well tested, hopefully by us too, way to do that. He says that we need to be like like the ocean, where different desires, they'll come and go. And why he says that? Because he knows, he anticipates that people will say, just like Arjuna, wait a second, dear Krishna, this is all nice, but the mind is very strong. And I'm actually a conscious living entity. I'm a spirit soul. But while let's imagine that person who's talking to Krishna has already read Bhagavad Gita and they understand a few things, so they will say counter arguments. Although I'm transcendental Satchitananda and pure originally, I'm actually in contact with this matter, your energy, and it's very hard. My addiction to Prakriti, it's very hard to just, this divine nature is very hard to overcome it. So I'm here. I know I'm sorry, Krishna, I did this, but I am here, and I'm stuck. My consciousness is still infiltrated by so many desires, and even if I try to, meditate and still be quiet and pacify the mind, just things come in there. Because I'm a soul and my nature is active, not like Mayavadis. They say that you just dissolve and you don't exist anymore and nothing bothers you. This is the perception of, and why people want that. Actually, a lot of people do want that, and then they aspire to that for that. But why? Because they just suffer materially, and they think that the alternative to it is just peace, not love, not happiness, but peace. And yes, it's true. We will read about it. We will discuss that peace is the first step on the way to happiness, but it's not the ultimate goal. And certainly it's not where we just want to go, just into non-existence, just dissolving ourselves. No. So yes, Krishna, that soul that's still not sure how to connect to Govinda completely and meditate and surrender their consciousness, into the blissful descriptions of the Lord and his personal form and pastimes and beauty and and the name, of course, which contains all of that together. Yeah, they will say it's just difficult. There are many, many rivers of desires, either imposed or generated because of my karma, of some seeds of karma that I acquired before, and I wanted it. And so it just comes, whether I fight it or surrender, it's there. My mind is always active. So Krishna says that certain restraint, not in action, not just passive quitting and canceling everything and being just completely subject to whatever external events will come into your life, but developing internal depth and steadiness by tolerating certain distress and certain happiness too. If we're shallow inside, if we have very little realization, then we'll be deeply disturbed. Not deeply, yeah, we will be deeply affected by events outside of us. We will be super happy when something happens to us, and we'll be super upset when something doesn't happen to us, the good things and whatever. We'll just be constant storm of the duality, because we are so shallow inside that the outside events feel very deep and monumental and overwhelming. But if we have inner depth, which comes from, I will talk about it in just a second, I will bring you up there. But our inner depth can make us like an ocean, where things externally can happen and can change and can be so-called inauspicious for us right now, for our body, for our mind, for economic development. But maybe from the depth of our own consciousness, when we think about it, it can be very auspicious, because it helps us to feel detached from this world. Maybe it will help us to be prepared to go back to Krishna, rather than hankering for more desires, rather than trying to stay here forever, rather than thinking that this is going to be my ultimate home and goal, and nothing's going to change, and this is forever happy end. But it's not, and it's simply our illusion. It's simply our wishful thinking that this world, of course, this world is actually perfect and pure, because it's creation of the world, and beautiful. It's creation of the Lord. But we human beings, with our consciousness being polluted and misused, we turn it into what it is. So it's all kind of like effect of the jivas here. They trying to lord it over, and that's what it comes to. Some people say if you stop every human activity for just 3 months. Actually, my Gurudev said that. I don't know where he'd get this exact source, but he's saying obviously that Earth is very divine, actually, like all the creation, and it can fully recover itself, fully reverse the effects of ecological disaster and problems by stopping human activities for about 3 months or something like this. And boom, heaven and earth again. But who will do it? Who can do it? Our consciousness cannot stop for a second, right? Generating material desires, polluting the atmosphere with them, because again, intelligence is lost. So we cannot act for the benefit of others. We'll start acting, destroying things and overusing and misusing and exploiting. So unfortunately, unless humans change their consciousness, no change can be seen externally. So we have to remember that. So if we want to change the world, we need to help people to transform their consciousness. And how to do that? Krishna will say that actually you have to connect with me. That's why the threefold material miseries of material existence will not exist for you. And in such satisfied consciousness, the intelligence is soon well established. This is text 65 from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And this transcendental consciousness comes from reading transcendental literature and from learning from a guru, from a person who already have bhakti in their heart, because the knowledge that Krishna shares can only be transmitted through the heart of another devotee, because it's not just information in the paper, it's not just audio files that you can look for online, it's not just letters and words and sound vibrations. It's bhakti put in the form of a text, it's put in the form of a sound vibration that we hear in the form of the lecture and kirtan, but it comes from a devotee. And the reason why Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are so potent is because it was given to us. Why it's so potent to us is because it was given by a devotee, by a great devotee, Srila Prabhupada. He's a pure devotee, and therefore we will be affected by his consciousness. It's guaranteed. See, if you just bring yourself and others to the point of reading transcendental literature so lovingly and urgently prepared by Srila Prabhupada to us, translated and given purports and explanations, it's inevitable, it's guaranteed. That's why there is a blessing when you, or benediction given at the beginning of Bhagavatam, those who will read this transcendental text, Purana, Bhagavata Purana, like the sun, will attain love of God. Like your life will never be the same if you make it through, if you read it carefully, attentively, in a certain mood. Or however you can read it, really, at this point, right? Just start reading. Consciousness will be regained eventually, and the attention and the absorption and the taste will also be regained. So, this is the alternative to losing intelligence and becoming bewildered by lust and the senses and contemplation and feeling anger and frustration and depression. The other way, the path of Krishna consciousness, is gaining transcendental intelligence by reading transcendental literature, by learning and submitting yourself to a spiritual master, by remembering his instructions and really trying to serve him in action, not just having a picture on the altar of your guru, little dusty, because it's been there for a while. But really remembering, what did my teacher do? What is he doing if he's still in the physical body right now? How can I connect? How can I serve? How can I help in this mission, in his mission? How can I be servant of the servant every day, doing something? And then you're going to be in yoga. You're going to have a different existence, absolutely different dimension of where you live. And some outsiders, some people might not know and might notice, they'll still see you sweeping the floor and washing dishes and going to work and paying the bills and the taxes and cleaning up the mess after your kids and doing laundry, preaching to myself here. But you're not going to be burnt out or frustrated or thinking that you wasted your life on these people around you. So many people feel frustration to their families because they serve for years, but because our family members are not God, because they're not supreme living entities of perfect reciprocation, because they are not capable of doing what Krishna does in relationship with the souls. Yeah, we're going to be burned out. If you're acting out of duty, that's already great. But out of duty to whom? If you're only acting out of duty to your family, yes, probably at the end of your life, you're going to feel a little tired. At the end of your life, you're going to feel a little bit like, wow, I just gave you a lot. I sacrificed my life. That's why many families and parents later kind of blame their kids sometimes, oh, my best years. You have no idea how much I'd spent, how much money I spent on you, and how much energy in my life. And then, women as well who've been housewives and they just served their family and cooked and cleaned. They sometimes look like zombies later. And they go, I'm sorry to say this word, but they can go nuts too. And say, enough. That's why there is this revival on social media and in different places, because people not serving the Lord, they serve in their own senses sometimes, or they just putting all their eggs in the basket of their family member or their kid, thinking that this person has to give me all happiness, completely satisfy me, bring me all transcendental pleasure. It's all on them. And if they haven't, they're the bad person. Because all in all, I've paid for them and I supported and I did this and that, but how could they be so ungrateful and not given me any absolute happiness and everlasting satisfaction? Well, they can't. And therefore, you are guaranteed to be frustrated in your family life if you're only doing everything just to, satisfy your family members. And again, this is not the worst. It's really good if you're doing it. But still, it's not enough. It's not enough to attain that happiness we're all looking for, that nectar. It's just not there. It's going to make you more dutiful and strong and pious, and hopefully that sort of austerity yagya, because certainly serving your family is yagya. It will bring you to heavenly planets, if you've been good and everything, and give you good karma, maybe some wealth in the next life and all of that stuff. But you can very, very easily transform all of your service that you already have to do. If you have some obligation, responsibility, if you're adult, or a young adult or old adult, all of us have some duties, right? And services and obligations, but you can turn it into a very ecstatic devotional service by simply doing this for the Lord. And really, it just, again, externally, nobody's going to notice that you completely changed your life for some time. Later they will. You'll be so happy. You'll be so different. You'll be so effulgent. You'll be so inspired. You won't really maybe have burnouts. You might not have existential crises and depressions and wanted to just jump out of all of it all of a sudden. Some people, I'm going to make one more point here, how scientists and materialists, they try to explain it. They say, oh, did you know why so many women want to divorce after the age of 40 or around age of 40? It's because their estrogen levels, they drop. And when your estrogen level drops because of your hormonal changes and aging, you just don't feel like caring anymore for everybody. You feel like, I had enough. I've cared about my family because it's all surely just hormonal. That's the only reason, I stayed and served my family. And now enough. It's time to live for myself. So I'm going to leave my family. I'm going to live for myself. I'm going to do my own thing. And then it's actually, like you can see, a lot of it does happen in the world. Like many people, they just split because they think it's time to live for myself. So this is how physiology and psychology try to explain it. It's just hormones, yeah. But again, Krishna points out that it's really has to do a lot of existential crisis that comes from not being in yoga, not using human body for its right goal, for its right purpose, to remember Krishna, to create this unbreakable, sweet, ecstatic, personal relationship in connection with the Lord, where by the peace in your heart, by the knowledge that is manifested in your heart, by strong, steady intelligence that you acquire, and ultimately by happiness. Because let's see that chain. You remember our contemplating object of the senses, then the anger, the lust and the anger and the loss of intelligence. So there's another chain: reading, hearing, and chanting, to peace, to happiness. There's another chain of reactions that we can test out. So yeah, if you're doing that, you're going to feel really, really ecstatic, and all of your ordinary activities that look like you're just going about your things and doing your chores and making those money to pay those bills. If you remember that ultimately every action I have in my life, even the tiniest offering, even the tiniest effort, can be yoga, can be for the satisfaction of the Supreme, can be the ultimate goal of my life, can be service to the lotus feet of Govinda. Then that's it. Your life is successful. Congratulations. You're graduating. You're free. You no longer need to worry about this material existence or whatever happens, because you hit the jackpot. You fulfilled the only reason you are here. And if on top of that you can help a couple of other people on the way, then even better. Then Krishna is going to be so happy, and so the Lord is very grateful. Everything, all the magnanimous qualities we see, all the things we are attracted to, all the things that we value in other people are fully present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Krishna is very excited and grateful. And he even says sometimes, like he says to the gopis, indebted to the people who bring others to him, who open the lotus flowers, the lotus hearts of the other devotees, because everybody ultimately is a devotee. That's the vision of Uttamadhikari. And why is the vision of Uttamadhikari? Because that means there are no impediments, there are no reasons not to talk about Krishna with other people and preach the message of Govinda, of Krishna. Because if everybody is already devotee in their heart, they just need a little reminder, then what is the problem? Talk about it, and preach. Maybe they even find a way to talk to envious, Madhyama Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari. They need to be a little careful and discern who you can talk to about Krishna, who's not. Maybe some people are, in a very demonic mentality, and they openly declare the word to God. I'm sure there are plenty. But that also means they have knowledge, that also means that they act on the platform of Shastras to some degree, but they just demonic. They argue the opposite. Those are the ones you kind of have to be careful with, because they might put the poison in your heart, or they might just create more offenses. But mostly, as Uttamadhikaris, as people who aspire for that, at least, we should try to remember. It will help us in our personal relationships too, that everybody has devotion within them already. Everybody is a devotee of the Lord. Everybody is Satchitananda. And everybody has Govinda in their heart as a super soul, as a representative. And so if we do that, it will help us to be a little bit more patient and tolerant with other Vaishnavas and scriptures. And therefore, maybe somewhat improve the things in this world. So yes, please remember, it's all there in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is just very clear. He lays out all the options in front of Arjuna and lets him choose, of course. He doesn't force him, because we have to make this decision with our own intelligence. We have to commit to it. We cannot be forced into loving God. We cannot be forced into yoga. It doesn't work like that. We cannot be forced by fear. It has to be full-on responsible choice that we make. After seeing all the options in front of us, do you want the package of lost intelligence and suffering and dreaming, or do you want to go through particular austerity and tolerate enough to train your mind to appreciate mode of goodness, sattva guna lifestyle, and gradually raise yourself, or fast if you're ready, if you want to go all the way. It doesn't have to be very gradual. In fact, Bhagavata Mark is not so gradual, maybe what is called Pravriti Marga, where people do sacrifices and go through all the different stages in life and gradually, very gradually become more and more pious until they acquired enough good karma to sort of start doing some karma yoga and things like that. Actually, Bhagavata Mark is fast. It's a fast track already. So if you want to go even faster than that, well, just watch out. Be ready. It's going to be a fast ride, an exciting ride. But yes, if we can stay vigilant, stay on guard where our intelligence is going, and especially now, I'm really happy I'm talking about it, because I caught myself several times this month and this week spiraling down in the news of what's happening in the world. And I mean, we should be aware of what's going on, but once it captures your intelligence, then you should know Maya has won. If you're feeling fear, if you feel anxiety, if you feel like that's it, the end of the world is coming and I'm so scared about it, and we're just completely in control of evil forces, and we just have been defeated by the demons. It could be all there, yes. But what I'm saying is, if our intelligence is overwhelmed and completely got controlled by those thoughts, and therefore there's no space for Krishna there, because we're just too busy worrying and being scared and hating, because obviously all of this, all the news, all the new world order and things like that, they create also a lot of anger in people, right? Like, why? I just want to serve Krishna here. I just want to be happy and healthy. Why can't my family just live the peaceful, happy life? I do my duties, civic duties. So anger comes. Why is this? And that's natural. I don't blame you. But again, as devotees, we should do a little bit better. We should do a little bit better than that. Be a little bit ahead of the great minds of this world who maybe try to orchestrate a lot of things, in our society, again, to seeing opportunities of money making because they have materialistic intelligence, and they also suffer. Don't forget, those who cause the most suffering to others are the ones who suffer the most. And we can only stop this by alternative, not by the same kind of methods and hatred. Because what good does it do? It just burns your neurons and kills your nerve cells and just make your heart beat faster, and so that you live shorter. That's all it does, really. Most of the time. But if you can act from position of Krishna consciousness and remembering who is really in control, and what is my goal of life, and what is my ultimate duty, and first duty is to remember Krishna and continue to do my duty despite maybe not being able to receive the results of it. It's difficult. It's very advanced level for human being. Usually this kind of people, they so glorified in the history, like some great, what are they called? General or something, or a philosopher or a ruler or the king or a saint. They really appreciate it usually because they were doing their duty to the people, to the government, to the religion, to the spiritual path. Somehow they were doing their duty, and they were able to sacrifice the results of their activities for the greater cause. And they were sometimes murdered, sometimes died gloriously. There are only two glorious deaths: remembering Krishna when you die, or dying on the battlefield doing your duty. And I mean, battlefield can be literal battlefield or figurative battlefield of you in the material world, continuing to do your duty. But Vritrasura spoke about it to Indra. I'm just reading that chapter now in the 6th canto, and he's like, kill me. I'm ready. Do it. Stop being so scared. Vritrasura is the actual devotee there, and Indra is more like demon there in this situation. But he's saying there are only two ways to to become glorious in this world, in the eyes of Krishna, is to die on the battlefield and also to remember Krishna, to be Krishna conscious. So Vritrasura, so-called demon, he was doing both. And that's why he had no fear. He had no fear of dying at all. And there are some other purports, confidential purports, that say that he wasn't actually killed by Indra. He already left the body, and his head was like trying to be cut off for a year and couldn't because he was so powerful, such a great devotee. Anyway, coming back to our verse here and our discussion. Although what I think I mentioned several times, my point here, that there are plenty of alternatives, but none of them is going to be really good for us, and therefore Krishna still has to warn us and then kind of like imply to Arjuna that, to be honest, there is no alternative. If you want to be happy, that's the only way. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasti, vanasti, 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 gatiranyata. So, whatever helps you the most to chant better, whatever books by Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas inspire you the most to stay Krishna conscious throughout the day, whatever service commitment can help you to stay in shape. Again, preaching to myself here, sometimes it's easy to just, as a family person, as a busy-minded person, it's just so easy to find more excuses not to do something because it's just kind of hard for the mind, for the senses, to do it in an inconvenient way for them, yes. But it's good. It's very good to keep our mind sharp, keep our intelligence sharp, and do what's needed, what is a little hard sometimes for the body, for the mind, for the senses. But if we know it's going to be direct devotional service to Krishna, then please go for it. Always choose that rather than thinking that, I'd rather rest. This happened to me today. Every time I'm supposed to give Bhagavatam, I just don't sleep all night because I'm afraid. What if I miss and don't wake up on time? What if I forget the verse? I start dreaming about it. I just wake up every few minutes or whatever. And then sometimes in the middle of the night, I think, forget it. I just could not rest. I won't be focused. Maybe I should do the class, or maybe I should just not, I should bail out. Somehow it happens to me. There's a little bit of anxiety there. But I just reminded myself today, it's really important for you actually to stay Krishna conscious. It's very important for you to read and chant and do that service as well. So please disregard the inconvenience, disregard. And it's a little example because it happened this night to me, but there can be anything. Should I go and send Kirtana? Oh no, but I'm tired, but I have so much to do. Well, okay, Maya 1, you 0. Okay, that's 1 point to Maya. And ask yourself like this every day, this or that, what is the more Krishna conscious option? And if you can train your mind to resist the urge to bail out and find excuses and just go for it, despite possible inconvenience or exhaustion, then boom, before you know it, you are at the lotus feet of Govinda. And your consciousness is actually not anymore forcing or training or resisting or just working on the discipline, willpower. It's actually naturally attracted to the Lord. It's one of the symptoms of a devotee with blossoming bhakti in their heart, that they can spontaneously, I mean, they want to. They don't have to, they want to serve Krishna. They want to hear and chant. They want to be absorbed in pastimes of the Lord and hear his activities and meditate on the form and the beauty of the Lord and his Vrindavan pastimes especially. So we need to get to the point where our mind is not the enemy anymore, but is the best friend, and it is naturally flowing like Ganga flows to the ocean, is naturally flowing to the Lord, to that yoga. So that is my take on this verse. And I also wanted to mention how how potent all the Sanskrit verses are, and how if we always read Sanskrit. I'm bringing this up because recently in one lecture I heard that one lady, she asked my guru, Maharaj, I struggle with Sanskrit. I don't understand it. I don't read it very well, and it takes me a long time. wouldn't it be better to just read Bhagavatam and not the Sanskrit? So I just understand the meaning in Russian or whatever language you're reading. and he said one point, and I have 2 points to mention on that, because Prabhupada emphasizes certain words, right? And one point is that you might not be understanding the language, but all the demigods, they speak Sanskrit. It's a Devanagari. It's a language of the divine living entities, divine living beings. And so when you speak it here, they hear you. You speak their language. And people have this personalities, they have this special training in the ear. You know, if we hear our name, or if we hear our language somewhere, we can tune in and hear very carefully, and suddenly our attention goes there. So if you speak Sanskrit, all the demigods, they're going to keep you in mind. Oh, look at that little person, little Anandini there, trying to talk to us and trying to learn our vernacular, our language of the gods. Oh, that's good. Keep it in mind. It's a good benefit to purify your own consciousness, ears in this universe, to speak this divine language. And also, why it's important to read verses and learn Sanskrit is because eventually you will see that certain words, they are dramatic, they loaded with meaning, and not just vocabulary meaning. They have bhava in them. You know, like the word, I know here, actually, Prabhupada mentioned sarvatra tat ikshanam, everywhere, saying the relationship with Govinda, with Krishna. He emphasizes words. But I was thinking ekanta bhakti, unalloyed devotional service, you know, ekanta, like one path. And when you hear those words, they have certain power in them. They have mood, they have rasa, they have taste. And so learning the verses or reading the verses, like our Janavatsala, you know, she's a shloka, what is it called? She had some nice word for this, something with shloka. But anyway, she's reading and learning real different shlokas every week. As this nice group from England, I think. So it's very inspiring. Eventually, your consciousness will be operating in this terms, not talking about I don't know, new digital universal currency or this and that, or this conspiracy and that conspiracy, which are not conspiracy anymore. Apparently, they just became the reality or just the facts, right? But instead of those kind of words circulating our consciousness, it will be, what is ekanta bhakti? What is unalloyed devotional service? How can I feel it in my heart? What is smrita? What is, you know, like thinking of the Lord all the time? What is, you know, seeing the relationship with Govinda everywhere? What do these words all mean? What are the verses in Bhagavad Gita? So encourage everybody to learn more, to operate in this kind of dimension and train our intelligence, which is entirely possible. It's so trainable and so malleable at any age to be Krishna conscious. And I wish us all good luck in that, and motivation, inspiration, inner strength, and support groups, so we can collectively uplift this world and, of course, ourselves in that course together. Thank you so much. And His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. If anybody would like to comment on anything or discuss things or ask questions or comment, please do. We'll have a few minutes for that. Thank you. And I see that also today is appearance of Srivas Thakur. All right, very wonderful. I think my husband sent me something nice about it. If nobody wants to say anything, I'll just mention a few things about Srivas Thakur. He was a member of Panchatattva and lived in Navadvip before Lord Chaitanya came. He met with Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu. They studied Bhagavatam, and together with him, they prayed for the appearance of Supreme Lord to come. And so that's why Lord Chaitanya came. Malini, wives of Srivas, was a friend of Sachi Devi, so mother of Nimai. So she served Nimai as a nurse. So she was serving Lord Chaitanya. They were a little older than him. So yes, Srivas and Malini, his wife, were considered second mother and father, like godmother and godfather, maybe even for Lord Chaitanya. That's wonderful. She had a big home and I guess came from like a prominent family or beautiful location. And they had kirtans, therefore, in this house. Keep in mind, if devotees have nice house and nice facilities, just like Srivas Thakur, you can facilitate sangam and kirtans and use your palatial building for chanting the holy names. So near his house, Chandkazi's movement was stopped. Well, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement was stopped because the Mridanga was broken there. But it was all near Srivas Thakur. And what else we can read? So yes, all glories to Srivas Thakur, member of Panchatattva. He represented marginal living entity, Tatastha, Jiva energy. And he described as a smaller limb, Lord Chaitanya. Srivas Pandit is also incarnation of Narada Muni, intergalactic preacher, constant associate with the Lord. And his samadhi is in one of the 64 samadhis area in Mayapur. All right, that's a very short biography that I was able to take. And thank you all so much. If no comments or questions are there, we can finish now. Again, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.